Okay, we're sharing. We're sharing now. A lot of my friends have said that they enjoy some of my encouragements and my share spaces through Will Share Life, my platform to share my life, hopefully to bring Christ to the masses. But they want it in a longer format. So I've been reluctant to put it on YouTube, but I'm about to share for the first time in a longer format. So we're going to share some of the gems that have gotten me through this season from Progressive Chicago and Salem, Chicago. We're going to share my origin story and how I made it from Bloomington to Chicago. Right here on We'll Share Life. How will you share your life today? Hey, how are you? It is now a little after 5 a.m. It's Saturday, guys. So I got up around 3 a.m. this morning and I was like, I need to be productive. I want to have a productive Saturday. So in the season of my life, I am at home a lot. And if I'm not going to church, if I'm not, with a friend, then I'm here. So I'm using this season to spend time with God in the way that this is a breaking season for me, and I know He's shaping and molding me. So yeah, there is just so much I can do with the Lord to steward my life better. So I was sitting there and I was like, I had this moment this week, right? And it was a moment of this overwhelming feeling of joy. And I felt like I was young again. And like, I used to have this quilt from my grandmother, and it has the patches on it. It was a patch quilt. And it was my favorite. It smelled like home. And I remember the nights I would get into bed and I would kind of move around in the bed and I would move my feet and I'd feel the newness of the sheets. And I just felt so safe and so loved and so much at home because everything smelled like home and it felt like home. And back then, my parents and I, before my little sister came along, lived in a apartment, but I loved that little apartment. It had cozy spaces. The stairwell had a little corner. You go up one platform and then there was a platform there. And I would make a little corner before you go up the other set of stairs. And that little corner, my own little corner in my own little chair, I would sit and read. Oftentimes, it was a punishment because TV had been taken away for something I did. But my mother was all about the punishments. My dad was about the spankings. My mother was about the punishments. And so I would go for weeks without TV. And so I'd take my blanket and my quilt and I bring my tea chair and I put it in the corner in the middle of the stairs. And I would cozy up to books and I would make games. But this week, I met a moment where I had that feeling again. I had that feeling of like, I'm home. This feels nice. The sheets feel new. And just, I was basking in this joy from God. And I was like, Lord, I didn't even know I could really feel like this in a alone moment with you. I feel like this, when I'm worshiping you and when I'm singing and I'm ministering and it feels great. It's this euphoric type of feeling and connection to the Lord, right? And I know things shouldn't be about feelings, so don't get me, But in that moment, I was sitting at night and I felt like, I was like, Lord, you're here. I was like, I feel good right now. I was like, this feels like home. You feel like home, Lord. And so I was just like, I get it. This time is for you and me. So I have a season where I'm going to spend a lot of time at home. I'm going to be spending a lot of time with God. And it made me think more about prayer. And I was thinking about this movie I love. It's called War Room. When I first saw that movie, it incited something in me, and I was like, I am going to pray, like for real. Pray with the word, pray with the intention. I'm gonna put it on my wall. And I did. It was a season, I think that was a season right after I lost my mom, and I had 2 closets. We lived in the house at that point, and I was transitioning from coming home from college and being a caregiver for my mom, losing my mom, and then trying to transition my life because my father's life was starting to move on. My sister, she was starting to move on. So I was like, I need to get a life of my own. So while I was in Bloomington waiting and preparing with the Lord, I was like, I'm going to dedicate one of these closets to be my prayer space. And I wrote out a prayer for my father, and I used the word and I prayed for him. I prayed that he would find a newness in his new life, and that he would see purpose in continuing to live on, and a purpose beyond his daughters, right? And then that he would find love again, because I knew my dad was built to be with someone, to have a companion. And then I prayed for all of my sisters, and I made this nice prayer, and I printed it out, and I gave it to them, and I said, this is what I'm praying for you. And I made a prayer for myself and for people at my job. And it felt really good. I had this little pocket prayer book by Max Lucado. Great. If you haven't seen that, and I still have it, it's this little prayer book. It fits in your pocket, and it's called Pocket Prayers. And so I used to take that pocket prayer book around with me. I'm probably gonna get another one here soon. And as I would meet people, if I was in the drive-through, if I was at work thinking about someone in their situation, I would go to the prayer that fit them. There'd be a prayer for healing. There'd be a prayer for reconciliation. There'd be a prayer for peace. And I would write that person's name down next to that prayer, maybe a little note about what they're specifically needing in that healing, in that peace. And I would pray that prayer. And then I started moving into when people said they needed prayer, I started praying in the moment. I don't know what happened in me transitioning from Bloomington to then working at the college during COVID, being on the front lines, and then transitioning from being in higher ed to going back to social work here in Chicago, that I lost that prayer of intention. Yes, I still pray for people in the moment. Yes, I still pray with people in my prayers. But that prayer of intentionality where I'm praying for that specific person, where I have a prayer for them on the wall, where I have pulled from the Bible and I have written it down. I prayed with the word, that's gone. And I was like, in this season, now, here in Chicago, in my new life, in the season of waiting and preparing and being broken and having God reshape me and mold me, because that's what this time is about, right? I said, I'm going to prepare my house. I'm going to steward my life. I'm going to put this mention in here about this. If you have ever thought about being connected to Progressive or Salem, Chicago, consider taking a class with Emmanuella or Hunter. I have gotten so much from them. Any class you take is great. Any growth series you take is great. There are some big nuggets I've gotten from the growth series, from the sermons, from our pastoral team, and I carry them with me into every season of life. There was one story, and Emmanuella, I hope I don't butcher this, but there was one story she shared. There's so many stories she shares with us, right? I think I shared one last time, but there was one story she shared with us recently, probably like in the last year, about a woman who was praying for her future life. She was praying for change. She was praying for God to match her with her husband and for her life to move forward. And she would go to Bible study. This is the story. She'd go to Bible study and tell the women in the Bible, her Bible growth group class, she would say, I'm preparing for my husband. I'm packing my bags, you know? And she would go home with intentionality, with the Lord, vision in mind for her life. And she would pack her house. And she was getting ready. It made me think of the song, Get Your House in Order. Oh, do it today. I wish I could slap the table. You hear that big bass line in there? Doom, doom, doom. I can't sing it now because I got Twinkie Clark in the back. This album is amazing. But it's masterpiece. It's Twinkie Clark's masterpiece album, and this is awesome playing in the background. I've been playing her like tonight as I assemble my furniture for my future life. But anyways, back to the story. She would go home, she would pray with intentionality, she would work in God's vision, and she would pack for her life. She's preparing for her future life that she knew nothing about. She hadn't even met this person yet. And so this goes on for a little bit of time, and she goes back to Bible study. And she's like, well, guys, it's been so nice. It's been real. They're like, what? What do you mean it's been real? You sound like you're leaving, like you're going somewhere. She's like, I am. She's like, I'm getting married. She's like, and I'm moving, you know, like in a week. And they're like, what? All the things that they used to look at her like, girl, you're crazy, came to pass because she worked with intentionality. She prayed with the Lord. She worked within God's vision for her life. And I'm not saying like my complete focus is on being married, because I realize that's not the end all be all. People get married, you know, they have trials, they have tribulations. I saw my parents' marriage. It was lovely. They had a beautiful marriage, but it was hard, you know, and they went through some serious challenges, you know. And that last chapter in their life, you know, my dad reminded me, he said, Candace, he said, this was bad, right? Like you experienced being a caregiver for your mom for 3 years. You saw some things that I'm sure like really had an impact on the way you see life, you know, because being caregiver is very challenging. So big ups to all the caregivers out there. Just know like it's a season. It has a timestamp. It will end. So enjoy the moment that you're in, even though it's a trial. Enjoy the time with your loved one because it will not last forever, right? But in that, he said, this is a season in your life, right? This was a trial. But he said, this is not the trial that God had for you. He said, this is really my trial. This is really my season, you know, with this and your mother. He said, this is the woman I married. And he said, even though this is your mother, he said, you will have seasons. His point was, you will have seasons that will be just you and God. Guess what, y'all? I'm in that season. I'm in those seasons. I've had those seasons. I'm gonna be honest with you. Moving to Chicago, woo, y'all, has tried me. It's almost like, I'm like, am I being punked? Like, right? Because I've experienced so many things in this last 3.5 years that have just blown my mind. You know, I love what Pastor Sam always says. He says, there are no wasted experiences. And trust me, not one experience since I've been here has been wasted. Everything has come full circle for the most part. And I see the why I had to experience it. For example, you know, like me and one of my closest sisters at PBC had a horrific accident that involved a semi-truck. For me, I think for her, she ran into the truck like the truck stopped abruptly, and she ended up, like, her car ended up under the truck, which is crazy. For me, I was on the highway coming home. I actually was moving here. I was moving to Lansing, to the south suburbs, and my car just going down the road. I had on music. I was talking. I don't even know if I had on music. I think I was just talking to God. So I had just left a service at my home church in Bloomington. It was a choir reunion. I had just seen my sister Rissa. I love that girl. I love her and her family. I love you guys. I had just seen her. I hadn't seen her in a long time, and I saw one. I think I saw her baby, which was lovely. I saw Audrey, and she's not a baby anymore. She's growing. And it was so nice. I was on such a high, you know, because I love music ministry, and so to be there and worship with my church family, it was like it felt so amazing. And so I had stuff still at my parents' house that I had packed up, because when I left Peoria, at the time, for 4.5 years when I was in higher ed, I left as the assistant director of Res Life. And so I was a live-on staff, you know, one of 2 people that lived on campus. And I served during COVID, right? It was a crazy time. It was a crazy time. But my life was there. And so when you move out of housing like that, everything is on a time schedule, because you have to turn your space, and, you know, it's very time oriented. So I had to get out quickly. And it was crazy because I moved to Chicago thinking I had a place to live, which is that was a whole nother trial. So we talked about the accident, which was still there, but I moved to Chicago and I had a place to live. Like, I had an apartment, and then it just went poof. Oh, we gave it to somebody else. I'm like, what? I've given you a deposit. And so I was like, oh my goodness. So I continued to move. I was like, I have this job I'm starting with the league. I was like, I am going to move with intention and in faith. And so I chose this random place because I have a friend up there. My closest friend had a friend, and he lived in Harvey. And I was like, okay, I'm familiar with Harvey. And so there was a storage space in Cal City, and Calumet, and it's right next to Lansing. And which I didn't know at the time. I wasn't thinking Calumet City, Lansing. I was thinking Calumet City, Harvey, because I'm familiar with Harvey. And so I moved my stuff to that storage space, not knowing what I was gonna do. And then my godparents called me, and they were like, hey, stay with us for the first couple of weeks you're working. I'm like, what? And so they opened up their guest space to me, and at the time they had another guest in their house. It was crazy, but it was such a blessing because I was moving in faith with the Lord. I didn't know where I was gonna end up. And I was like, okay, we're starting this job on time. I'm gonna drive from the south suburbs, not knowing anything about the city, and I'm going to start this job. So this was a night I had gone back to this. Let me say, the Lord blessed me. My godfather's wife was managing a building in Lansing, and she was like, oh, I have a space. I'm like, thank you, God. And so all I had to do was just trust the Lord for the money, because I had already put a deposit on another place. And so the funds were just going lower and lower and lower. My savings just was depleting. But anyways, I got into my space. I was moving in, but I went home for that concert, the reunion concert at my church back home. And I was getting ready to drive back. My dad was like, no, wait. I was like, I feel great. I'm awake. I got good sleep. I said, it'll be fine. I wasn't thinking about other drivers, right? I always think about other drivers. But I've had stuff at their house, and I was like, I'm going to move this stuff, and I'm going to take it back to my new home. And I was on I-80, and traffic stopped abruptly, and the truck behind me did not see that traffic had stopped and hit my truck. And we had a 5-car pile up. My car went doop, in the air 3 or 4 times. I was turning in the air, like spinning. My car went and landed in a ditch. I should be dead, right? But God was like, not so. Which BBCC Winans have a song I sing all the time. It said, Lord said, not so. Oh, because of you, I have pride and joy. Oh, okay, yeah. I got way off there because I'm hearing the other song and don't charge too hard. Okay, anyways, so I'm in a ditch and I'm like, Lord, I want to live. I was sitting in there. I'm like, I want to live. And I lived. My driver's side door was on, and what's crazy is my I had found a church. I found Progressive, and I had visited once and joined in the same day, and I was like, so many things with that. My dad was looking up churches when I moved to Chicago, Lansing. My dad was looking up churches. He was like, Black contemporary churches. And then as he was searching, his friend Michelle called him, and she went to, I think it was Pilgrim in Rockford, one of the churches in Rockford that Pastor Charlie was an intern at. And she was like, oh, Pastor Charlie, he has a church on the south side of Chicago. Your daughter works on the south side at the league. She should check out this church. It's called Progressive. And my dad was like, what? I just pulled that up on the computer. Like, that's what came in my search query. He's like, Candace, that needs to be the first church you go to. I was like, okay, we're gonna do it. We're not gonna sit on this. We're not gonna wait. Because when I was in Peoria, I worked 24/7 because I lived where I worked, and it was like an onslaught of work. And so I would go to different churches. I was at Friendship off of War Memorial. It was Grace Baptist Church, and it was Devereux Hubbard's church that I spent the most time at when I was at Peoria. And I just saw him recently at a conference up here in Chicago, which was so dope. But I love that church. I actually was getting really, really acquainted with Devereux Hubbard's church right before I got the job in Chicago. Yeah. So I was like, this time I'm not going to wait. I'm just going to seek the Lord. He's going to help me find a church home expeditiously. Like the second week I get to Chicago, go to Progressive. And they sang, I want to say they sang a Daryl Coley song. And I was like, oh, I know that song. And then Pastor Charlie preached, and I was like, that was a word. I was like, and I'm walking down. So I came down from the balcony, I joined. But why did I go to this story? I don't know. I remembered. I shared that story because I had the accident the night, it was a Saturday night before I was supposed to have new members class at Progressive. And so I wanted to get back to church because I loved Progressive so much, and I was so excited. And I was like, I'm ready to get started, and I had the accident. So yeah, I'm sitting in the car, had this huge accident, thought I was gonna die, didn't die. God was like, in that moment, he's like, I have more for you. There is more life for you to live, which is years ago. I was just telling my dad this. I was like, hey, you have more to live for than just us. God has more for you. And in this moment, God was like, it's not your time. Like, I have more work for you to do. I have more people for you to love. I have more for you to give. I have more for you. And I waited in the car, and a man, really cute guy. He was really cute. He got out of his car. His name was Otis. He was cute. Ooh. And he actually had to pull me out of the trunk of my truck. I was driving a Nissan Rogue, and I love that car. I was just telling my friend the other day, I was like, you know what? God had to take that car away from me because I love that car too much. It had a panoramic sunroof. It had tan leather seats. It had seat warmers. I love that car too much. And so God was like, yeah, you don't need this. And so, yeah. He pulled me out of the trunk of my car, y'all. When I look at those pictures, I'm like, I should be dead. And so I look back at the years that I've been here and I'm like, wow, Lord, like I should be dead. I should be dead. But you were like, no, I have more for you. I have more for you. And so throughout these last 3 years, God has continued to share with me, like, I have more for you, I have more for you. And so when I hear Emmanuella's story about the woman who went and packed up her house to prepare for a husband she hadn't even met, I think about the more God is living in. And I tell myself, I say, hey, Candace, guess what? God is in your future life. He's living in your future life, and he is enjoying you and your people. If that's a family or whatever he has for you, he's enjoying you and that family in your future life. There's more. There's more. So I sit here to just share with you, like, we are going to go in the season of waiting, because, we're waiting again. I'm reminding myself to pray with intentionality, to put those prayers on my wall, to put them in my little pocket prayer book, to carry them with me in my heart and pray them with the word, because God will never go back on his word. He is a promise keeper. He is a way maker, right? Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Oh, I love that song. I can't wait to hear that again. I gotta play that. That's who he is, y'all. He is a promise keeper. So, this was a long story. I'm sorry, Tim. He always hears my videos. He's like, Candace, that was too long. We're at 25 minutes. I really need to stop. So, I'm sharing this with you because I hope it encourages you to recognize the season, recognize it may be God saying, I want to spend time with you, son. I want to spend time with you, daughter. It may be God breaking you, right? I had this knee injury and God is like, I got to break you to reshape you, dear. I'm broken in a lot of places. God is shaping me and molding me to be that woman he needs me to be. Hopefully for that man he has for me, but for my future life. So I can be a better testimony, so I can be better utilized by him. So people will see me and say, hey, I want to know Jesus. I want to know what I can do to live a better life, to live a more abundant life, because I see you living in abundance and I want to live in abundance too. I want to be that. And so God is shaping me. He's molding me to get me to that place. So if you want to go, that's another song by BB and CC Winans. Oh, you want to go? Oh, that's what I live for. A place where love will never cease. Willing to die for, yeah. Heaven is where I want to be. Oh, yes, baby, that be singing. So, yeah, in summation, we're going to be praying the word this season. We're going to be walking in faith. We're going to be waiting on the Lord, because Lynetta, my friend from work, she always says, I love Netta. Netta, I love you. Let patience have its perfect work, right? And so I just saw a reel today, and the pastor was saying, it's not only God. You're not waiting because God is just preparing a blessing. Yes, he's preparing the blessing for you, but he's also protecting you in this season from the things that you're trying to rush, right? You're trying to rush something that could wreck you, right? Could really mess you up. And so I think about the seasons just since I've been in Chicago, and I've experienced so much life because I had to have those experiences so I could better understand what some of my clients are experiencing, right? I experienced that accident and had great loss, huge loss. I had a relationship that was just like, whoo, like I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I learned from that. I have lived in places that have not been up to my standards. Like I've experienced that. And now, I've experienced barriers to transportation. I've experienced what it's like to take the metro and the train. I rode my bike for 10 months until God was like, you're done, sit down. I rode to church, I rode to the store, I rode to work, and look, sis, like I lost, bro, like 19 pounds, and I'm feeling good. I haven't gained it back yet. I'm like, I don't know how he's doing it. It's a miracle, right? It is a miracle that I have not gained that weight back yet. But I'm like, God is showing me how to better serve the people that he loves so much that may not know him, right? That's why I was brought here to Chicago, because there's people in this community, in my community that I live in, that don't know the Lord. And I want them to know the Lord. But God was like, I have to break you a couple times and help you understand what these people are going through. I need you to understand what it's like to live in the city of Chicago and to struggle. But I also want you to live in my abundance. I don't want you to think that I left you. All the promises that I promised you are still there, right? And so I hope that you get something from this. I was talking to my sister Kim and her husband. I love the Grants. Like, if you don't know, they have poured so much into my life. It's such a blessing to be around a married couple because they shine so much Christ into my life. And I love them. And Crystal, thank you. Thank you. I love you, dear. Oh, they've been looking out for me. And Megan and Loretta. Like, y'all have just been in Shakari. Oh, Erica, Jerelia. Like, y'all have been great. Great. And all the people at church, I just love y'all. I love y'all. I don't know what I would do without my church family and my parents who pray for me and my sisters who pray for me. Like, I love y'all. Thank you so much. And so, yeah, that's it. Kim, I was going to say, this is about as real as it gets. She was saying when you share, make sure you share real points of life. I just shared a lot, y'all. So I hope it blesses you. I hope you know that you're not alone. I hope you know that this season isn't forever. Remember, this season is not forever. It's just for now. God is sitting somewhere in your future life, and he's enjoying your future life with you. And you may not be able to see it now, but it's there. You just have to trust and believe that it is. Because this fight, you're in it. You're in it right now. But soon the battle will be over. Christ already won, right? That was the last thing I shared. Christ already has the victory. He's already won the battle that you're sitting in right now. See the victory. Walk toward it, right? These are the things I have to walk around and tell myself all the time, because sometimes you forget. You get in the muck of it and it's like, oh, is this ever going to end? It will. Jesus has already won. He's already won. I love y'all. Okay, I gotta put together this stuff. I have a shelf, a desk, and a chair to put together. That's why I'm up so early. It's 6 o'clock in the morning now. I got up at 3. And I've just been talking. So it's time to get to work. But I wanted to share with you and let you know that you are loved. And I pray this blesses you. We'll share life. How are you gonna share your life today?